When you see a picture printed in an exhibition or a book, you don't see all of the pictures that went into creating that picture. And not just the pictures in that particular instance, but, you know, the career, the person, all of the things that go into making that one picture.
The book is a kaleidoscopic cross-section of cities around the world, you know, showing the way we live and work and how we kind of mould our cities and in turn how they shape us. So the book begins in Tokyo and it literally scans the globe going from east to west. Then it's interesting because you get these juxtapositions that you wouldn't expect because it's a longitudinal scan. It jumps from north to south.
It's quite an epic observation, actually, you know, and it's so diverse in its approach.
This is 12 years of work and, you know, extraordinary amount of journeys.
I mean, it might be surprising that a book that's about some of the world's most exciting and dynamic cities actually begins with a photograph of suburban Walthamstow.
There's a 24mm here, which is probably the one that I use the most. It's just a good focal length for most of the architectural stuff that I do. A 90mm and a 45mm, so it's a good spread. Ready. After spending 12 or so years photographing all the stuff that went into the book, for the whole time that I've been producing that work, I've actually been living almost exactly on the meridian in the sort of centre point of the book. It does take a lot of work to get to that place where you've got something that you're really happy with.
Cheers. Thank you. I don't think this is nice. I don't think this is worth doing.
I think it's really important to have an idea in your mind about the sort of picture that you want to get, but to allow yourself to veer from that and to allow surprises and unexpected results and to go with that.
I'm often trying to get up onto rooftops or to high buildings to get a good sense of the place. It would be really good just to have a look and see what the view's like,
okay.
and then work it out.
You can see as well at the other side there.
Yeah, perfect. What's your name?
Marjorie.
Marjorie, I'm David.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Sorry about my flat because it's a mess.
Oh, don't be silly, you should see my place.
Okay, come in.
Thank you very much.
Come in my place. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a park, children's park.
So yeah, you can almost see my house from here, actually.
Yeah, I'm looking on your rooftop.
Yeah. That kind of V shape of these houses down here is brilliant. Once I got that image, I knew that that was it. I've got the stuff ready for the book now. Right there, I think, is the meridian. Happy with that. I mean, I guess it looks slightly desaturated in a way at the moment.
You can play with the contrast. It sort of helps to strip out the haze a little bit. We're going to darken down the corner here and...
Great.
Done.
I mean, people always say an image tells 1,000 words, which obviously frustrates me being a writer.
Ollie and I spent a week in Yangon together doing a big piece. Yangon, vibrant and bustling, crumbling in places. Just a wonderful place.
You know, he has a very adventurous spirit, so he'd always be wanting to like climb further to the top of the building and jump over that fence to get the perfect shot. So it was fun working together in the field. During the period of the military junta, I mean, the city was just left to rot, which meant that the kind of middle classes retreated to these self-contained urban enclaves. And Star City is one of the most exclusive examples of this, where people live in their little bubble. You know, I was having a tour of Star City with the developer who was very keen to show off the incredible facilities, from one of Burma's only golf courses to the hand-clean swimming pool. Meanwhile, David could kind of sneak off and get these slightly more candid photos while I was distracting our guide.
I wandered round that day trying to keep things nice and architectural. I was working with a tilt-shift lens, so I have to be quite precise about what you're doing. But that's quite a challenge when you're trying to capture life. And I found these 3 guys, and they were all stood there, like quite wooden. And I was actually there long enough to fire off quite a few frames.
It's got that empty, just built feeling, isn't it?
There was no one around
Yeah.
except for cleaners and security. No people actually living there. Rog, do you want to chuck that in Russia?
It's kind of a book of memories for me as well, because I was involved for lots of commissioning of the work.
Well, I really love this one.
New
This
Delhi.
amazing picture of Delhi, isn't it?
My presence there may have contributed to
the riot.
the pandemonium.
I really love this one.
We were in Mongolia for a week, most of which I spent out in the wilderness. So the majority of work that I did was produced in the Mongolian steppe, and then came back to the capital.
This is one of the sprawling so-called Gur districts on the outskirts of Ulaanbaatar. A Gur is a Mongolian yurt. And over the past 10 years, about 600,000 people have moved from the Mongolian steppes. But the city hasn't been able to expand at a fast enough rate, and so you end up with these very kind of informal neighbourhoods where people have just come and pitched up their tent as if they're still on the Mongolian steppe.
One of the main things I really wanted to do was get a picture that showed the contrast of the hillsides with yurts and the city in the background. It was a very clear thing in my mind that I had to shoot to tell that story.
The spine running through the book is displaced people, or people who their livelihood is under threat because of climate change or mass migration or internal war. So that is the subtly powerful message that's in the book.
The encampment at Calais, I visited at the end of 2015 to photograph the refugees and asylum seekers that were there.
I think David's images of the Calais jungle are some of the most powerful in the book because they document the kind of ingenious ways that people make their own cities in the most extreme and desperate of circumstances. Because the jungle grew organically, it actually felt much more like a kind of real urban condition. The seeds of a city. It had several churches of different denominations.
There were lots of families there, and what separated them apart from everybody else, the people with kids, they were literally stuck there. It was just this desperation. They had no real hope of crossing, and they were just hoping that suddenly the doors would open and they'd be allowed in.
It's a very tender approach, isn't it? It's a very, very simple image. There are no frills in the picture because that's all they have, and the message is extremely straightforward and very humbling.
I think this really does work well here. I mean, I seem to remember when we were looking at all the photographs, we both agreed that this had to be the establishing
Main shot
on
when
the
you come out
space.
of the lift, yeah.
All right, onwards and upwards. Photography, despite the fact that it's everywhere now and everybody has a camera, there's still a magic about photographs.
I think we live in a visual world now. Photographs are a really quick way into understanding how people live, understanding a place, I think.
I get inspired really by the things that I'm seeing all the time, and seeing how, people are amazing at making the best of what they've got. And I think that's probably the thing that keeps me more inspired than anything else.